Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities in Miniatures. It's Friday, which means, as always, whether you want to hear it or not, it's time for some obscurities in literature. And I'd like to think that today's selection is quite obscure. It's definitely not in everybody's wheelhouse, but this is Safari Honeymoon by Jesse Jacobs. Now, this is not the first Jesse Jacobs graphic novel that I have acquired, but it's the only one that I can currently find. I don't know where I put Crawl Space or By This You Shall Know Him. If any of you out there have my copies that I lent you, let me know, because I'm like super paranoid that I accidentally took him to Book Off or something, and I don't think I would have because his stuff is just so weird. I can't find my copy of King City either. So if anybody, at least at the time I'm filming this, if anybody has my copy of King City, or if I left it at your house or something, please let me know. Just send me a message so I can rest peacefully tonight, knowing I don't have to go and buy myself another copy. I've been craving wanting to read that again. But I digress. Let's get back to Safari Honeymoon. So obviously, if you're not familiar with Jesse Jacobs' stuff, it's very unique. The stories may not be the most deep and concise, but they definitely go places, and they are super, super interesting to look at. And one of the reasons I really like this book, it just has such a bizarre sense of style to it. I don't know, maybe like Chris Ware kind of reminds me of just the layout and design aspect of it. Very unique looking. Now, the concept and the idea behind the Safari Honeymoon is that we have a couple of newlyweds who are on a journey through some bizarre landscape with a guide, and things happen to them, and they encounter all sorts of wildlife. That's basically the story in a nutshell, but the things that they see and do while on that trip are quite unique. And the panel layout tends to be quite dense on every page, some pages more than others. We have a very interesting use of color choices in this book. And we get into what's going on in the jungle. Sometimes. Sometimes with an explanation, sometimes without. And then we'll often have these big splash pages just of interesting designs as to what's going on. There is no explanation half the time either. Pictures of food. Pictures of what happens when you eat the food. And then we get into the parasites that have infected the guide, that have attached themselves to the back of his throat. Interesting stuff. So yeah. Very unique, very clean. Obviously, the humans are very stylized in the story, and that is quite intentional. They just seem to be going through one misadventure after another. As the couple continues their journey through the forest, we are continually joined by the crazy-headed things that make stuff happen on the page. This is when the wife begins learning how to communicate with these things. Where they're actually having this safari is never really explained, where it's supposed to take place, if it's on Earth, if it's somewhere else. And again, it's just a very unique story as we have all these various parasites and animals attempting to attack our intrepid honeymooners who start having time dilate around them. You get interesting pages like this where things are repeating themselves. Various examples of some of the fauna and flora that are infesting wherever they are. It gets very primordial at that point. I don't know, it's just, I feel like almost like an art experiment on page, and just things happen because they can. Much like the back page. It's a garden. So yeah, this one's out there. Like I said, the story really doesn't feel like it has the most, I don't know, meaningful plot. It doesn't have a huge point it's trying to get across. I felt that some of his other work certainly does try to do that. If anything, I'll have to wait and save my opinions on those other books once I can figure out where they are. But I would suggest, if you're interested in his stuff, do take a look at some of his other graphic novels. Jacob's work it's out there. One of the things I really liked about, like, what was it called? Crawl Space. I think it was Crawl Space. It's just the crazy use of color and geometric patterns. It's just like all over the place. I mean, you do have some of that geometric pattern work going on here, and you do see it in some of his other books as well. But it doesn't have as much of like the creation-heavy myth stuff that I like, which we've seen in books like Star Seeds or Forming. I know those. I tend to like those kind of creation-type stories. I've been working on mine. Yeah, kind of reminds me of Star Seeds in that you just have stuff that's happening, and eventually it kind of makes sense in its own way. It doesn't really follow our rules of physics or life or anything in general. It's just its own thing, and I think you kind of have to take it at face value. Obviously, the art here is definitely an acquired taste, but if you are flexible with what you like on paper when it comes to graphic novels and sequential art, I think there is definitely a lot to enjoy here, and just the intricacy of everything going on in those backgrounds and throughout their safari. Some definitely neat visuals, and hopefully, fingers crossed, I'm going to track down the other books because I really would like to know where I put them. I will put a link down below to Amazon's page for this stuff if you're interested and want to check it out, as well as some of his other works. There are definitely some very cool and colorful books that Jesse Jacobs has put out. With that said, this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching, and we will see you back here soon. Bye-bye.